What's going on, folks? Thanks for joining me. Welcome to Kick Weekly with Tim Wheaton, the weekly kickboxing podcast, and we have a ton of news going on in the world of kick fighting. Muay Thai just saw one of the biggest upsets in the sport's history in RWS Japan. Upcoming this weekend, we also have some pretty great matchups going down at Glory 80. We also have various news coming out for Glory 94 and 95. I'm also going to take a look at Rise 180 as well. So, folks, thank you for joining me. Let's jump into the world of kickboxing this week. Let's start with Glory 93 because that's currently what I'm thinking about right now. The headliner is going to be Tyjani Beztati going up in weight for the first time and taking on the former champion Endy Semeleer. Now, Tyjani Beztati is the current reigning lightweight champion in Glory Kickboxing at 155 pounds. And the thing is, I think Glory has been a little bit uncertain as to what they're going to be doing with that division. It sounded like they are shutting that division down, and now it seems like they're a little bit on the fence. But let's just say for argument's sake, they are shutting the division down. They're going to force everyone at 155 pounds to move up to 170 pounds. Now, Tyjani Beztati is one of the bigger folks in that lightweight weight class. He's quite a bit longer. If anyone's going to move up to welterweight and have success, he might be one of the better ones to move up in that division. Whereas a lot of the people who are in that 155-pound weight class, like we were talking about, Typhoon Ozcan, may struggle a little bit just due to his size. His frame isn't going to adjust very well to 155. Now, let's go back to shutting down this division as Glory intends to. I'm not fully on board with the idea, but it is and the reason is because it's a very competitive division through all of the great kickboxing organizations right now. In Glory, it's quite a strong division. In K1, it's a good division. In 1, it's an amazing division. In Rise, it's a good division. So all of the major kickboxing organizations will usually have one or two weight classes that are clearly better than the other organizations. Like, Glory obviously does heavyweight better, for example. Other, like Rise does the, 54 kilogram kind of thing. Like there's certain areas where clearly there are certain divisions, but 155 seems to stand out where every organization does very, very well and has competitive fighters. And, if you are a former one fighter, there are tons and tons of options for you. So I would like, rather than shutting down the division, I would like to see them get a little bit more competitive with it, signing more fighters, doing that sort of thing, really starting to compete with one, because one really built their division out of former K1 champions, former Glory champions, that sort of stuff. And I would love to see Glory get a little bit more competitive on that. Now, I do understand the other side that they obviously have some numbers that they're looking at and just saying like matter of factly, this is barely selling. But, and that's fair. I do understand that. We are not really in the kickboxing business. We're in the selling a fight business. If that makes sense. So you have to do things that sell fights. But I would like to see Glory do things that are long-term thinking. So investing at 155 pounds may not pay off today, but like you can see at 170 and 205 in Glory, that some investments from 2 years ago are really starting to pay off now. And it's same at 155 pounds where you have like people like Typhoon Ozcan and Tyjani Beztati who are really starting to build up and be exciting and build up a following. Right now, maybe that isn't selling. 2 years, is that going to be your main guy? And some of the promotion around Tyjani Beztati has been about how this is a young phenom, how this guy is destined for greatness. And that's interesting because they're shutting down the division that he's been king of for such a long time. Like if you want to make an all-star, make an all-star, but don't shut down his division. So I get the feeling that while they're saying they're probably going to shut down 145, 155, I think they're going to end up keeping 155 in all honesty, just because they recognize how good of a draw Tyjani Beztati is and that he is one of their better draws. And I think they can really build up a good weight class around him, a very competitive weight class. And especially as one is kind of struggling on the ropes right now, letting fighters go. K1 is building up fighters to be competitive at 155 pounds, and they're working with Rise, so you can do a champion versus champion fight, as we're going to see on Glory 93 in a minute here. I can understand them shutting down 145 pounds. I wouldn't do it because the best fights for the past few years across combat sports, MMA, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, are all the smaller people. And we're talking about 155 and lower. That is where the fight world is essentially happening. In MMA, and to a lesser extent, other combat sports, but stuff like your middleweights and light heavyweights are essentially dead. Most of the big sellers are 155 and lower. Most of the great fights are 155 and lower. So it would make sense to, in kickboxing, if you are Glory Kickboxing, keep it going. That 155-pound division has been really, really good. It's a good builder division. I think they can put a little bit more into it and really build around how exciting Tyjani Beztati has been. And this guy is signed on the dotted line every time out. Like if anyone deserves a few favors from Glory, they keep putting him in the main event since 2020. He's fought like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fights since 2020. And that's pretty good. He fought champions from other divisions. He fought Enrico Kell. He fought Petch. He fought Stoyan Kroplevinsky, Josh Chauncey. Very, very busy work rate and really, really impressive wins. Like his wins over Kaito Ono was good. It was a great shutout. Enrico Kell's a really valuable win. He knocked out Petch. Awesome. And he beat Stoyan Kroplevinsky. Split decision, but that sure has aged well, hasn't it? So anyway, the story is that they're shutting down that 155-pound division, told Tyjani that he's going to have to move up to 170. Now, I've spoken to him several times in the past. I've interviewed him like 3 or 4 times, and every time I asked him about moving up to 170, and he always said no, because I don't even walk around at that weight, he would say. So when he cuts weight, he's not even 170. And the obvious solution, as people have pointed out, is Tyjani can just put on some muscle, because he is long. He is actually fairly big. Even at 170, in terms of height and reach, he was one of the bigger guys there. But it's like, just put on muscle. Why didn't I think of that? Thing is, like, when you are a skinny, lengthy, long boy, putting on muscle is easier said than done, because you still have to fight with the same speed and same cardio that you did in a lower division. So yeah, putting on muscle, great, but then having to fight with all that muscle and being used to all that muscle, you're a different fighter when you go up that weight division. And these weight classes are much, much more competitive than someone going from like 205 to 230. So even in this fight, you have Tyjani Beztati is going up in weight class, and he is in fact taller than Endy Semeleer, who has been, a career at 170 essentially. And, but I again, like he didn't walk around his whole life at that weight. And I think one of the things that's not going to benefit him in that welterweight division is that his style at 155 is largely based on being longer. He knows how to use his length extremely well, whether it's his long jabs, his long straight kicks. He also evades out of punches and then comes back with different strikes very well. He'll lean out of range extremely well. As he goes up in weight class, those advantages are not going to be there, because even though he does have a slight size advantage over Endy, it's only a slight size advantage. If he tries to lean back out of range to evade strikes, the length of Endy is still going to be there. Anyway, so Tyjani Beztati was one of Glory's better champions. Really impressive wins by knockout. An exciting fighter. They put him on the collision cards to really make sure to push him. They put him on the Alistair Overeem Badr Hari card, just to like say, here's another huge Moroccan. And he made it feel like this was a huge fight. And he made that arena make it feel like that was his fight card. And it was the fight against Stoyan Kroplevinsky, which just was an incredible fight. But with his entrance, with the way that he acted during the walkout, with the way he acted during the fight, and when he got his hand raised, he made sure that all those Badr Hari fans knew who Tyjani Beztati was. He made that event feel like that was his event. And that's the stuff that you love to see. You need to see that kind of stuff, that he understands this game, that it's not just about winning fights. There is a factor of selling in this game. And he is very, very good at that, I find. He's also a sweetheart. Like behind the camera, he's such a light, jovial guy. And as soon as you start rolling, he turns into this other guy, because he knows he's like almost doing a bit here to like cut a cool promo would be kind of mean. He's even like on camera, he's been like, champ way. That's the only way. And then I'll hit stop recording. And he goes, was that good? That was good, right? I go, yeah, man, that was great. He's really nice. He's a really friendly guy. And I'm wishing him all the best of success here. Endy Semeleer, former welterweight champion, and he was welterweight champion for quite a while. It was a questionable reign for being one of the better divisions in Glory. So welterweight is an amazing division in Glory. It really is, with how many great fighters are there, like Aleem Nabiab and Jay Overmeer. And there's a ton of other people who are starting to come up in this division. Chigo Quasi, of course. It's just a matter of his reign looked a little bit questionable, because it is a very good division. Let's say that. So Aleem Nabiov, he got a split decision win, and most fans think he didn't win that. So already we're off to a bad start. Murtel Groenhart, he defended against, and Murtel Groenhart is just an okay, he's a great fighter, but maybe he didn't deserve that title shot nearly as much. Jay Overmeer, great win there. That is a really, really fantastic win. Awesome win. A lot of fans think he didn't really deserve it because he got outstruck like 2-1 in that fight, but he had the much more impactful strikes. I think he deserved to win that fight, and that is by far his best win. That's a really impressive win there. Jay Overmeer is a really highly skilled fighter. And then he fought Anwar Ouled Shaib, who was the winner of the reality show House of Glory, and, knocked him out like in the first or second round or something like that. Yeah, knocked him out in 2 minutes. I'm looking at it here. Thing is that Anwar Ouled Shaib really didn't deserve a title shot off of winning a reality show, and Endy Semeleer proved that point by knocking him out in like 2 minutes and shutting him out. His most recent fight was a loss to Chico Quasi, in which he lost his title, lost in the second round. A lot of people kind of get on, like, was that a clean knockdown? And like even Glory Kickboxing recently said that was an illegal spinning back fist. Like, dude, that's your champion. Do you want this guy to hate you guys? Like, why would you say that? And then you're fueling the fans to say that is an unjust win. Look, go watch the first round. Chico Quasi was winning the fight. If that spinning back fist didn't land, Chico Quasi would have won that fight. I have no doubt about it. So anyway, let's talk about styles here a little bit. So I think regardless, the winner of this fight really does position themselves well for a title shot in this division. And I think they would especially do that with Tyjani Beztati, see him potentially become a 2-weight division. Endy Semeleer maybe wants to get that title shot back. I'm not sure if he's 1 win away or 2 wins away from a title shot because there's so many great fighters at welterweight in Glory. But I think the matchmakers do understand that this is probably a number 1 contender fight, and that's why it's a headliner here. Tyjani Beztati, as I was talking about, he loves and he's very good at using his range. He will come in with different jabs and straight kicks to keep distance. He's so good at leg attacks. He's good at evading strikes, just leaning out of the way and returning fire with different strikes. In a firefight, he is quite good at shutting opponents down and winning in combinations. He is mainly a counter striker, I would say, in that very aggressive strikers are going to do worse against him than very passive strikers. So you can look at like his fight against Kaito Ono, where they throw like 4 strikes in that entire fight, but Kaito Ono wasn't willing to engage, wasn't willing to initiate. And so Tyjani Beztati also did not initiate. But against Stoyan Kroklevinsky, it was an all-action slugfest from start to finish because Stoyan is so aggressive. Josh Johnsey, same thing, of that Canadian is so aggressive and forward fighting that he is willing to run. Tyjani Beztati will find the counters. Endy Semeleer is a very, very good fighter, a little bit more, less standard Dutch style kickboxing in that the way he holds his palms is a little bit more out. He's a little bit more Muay Thai mixed with kickboxing style. He's very, very evasive and will attack with an entire range of strikes. So sometimes it's body punches, sometimes it's head punches. He attacks to the legs, body, head. Really like to, and knees, of course. Really like to see the variance in his strikes. And what he really likes to do on the counter is he wants to go first and third. And so a lot of people will play into that. Like, I think that's where Jay Overmeer really struggled in that fight. In that, give up the first punch, start throwing in combination, and then he's out of the way, but he's coming back with another strike. And one thing that Endy does very, very well, especially against aggressive strikers, is that he will make sure that he lands last in the combination. He will land last in the exchanges to always make in the judges' scorecard, whatever just happened in that exchange, maybe doesn't matter because I just landed the last strike there, and it was the biggest one there. And he's a very, very active fighter as well, in that he's always trying to attack you with something. He's always trying to land a little calf kick, a little leg kick, a little jab, just to try to bait you into doing something. Thing is that if you don't do something, he's not always the most active fighter. So what I fear about the Tyjani and Endy Semeleer fight is that it may be very passive because neither fighter wants to initiate. Essentially, we're talking about 2 guys who are counter strikers. Tyjani more than Endy Semeleer, but we are still talking about 2 people who are counter strikers here. And Endy's just got a great eye for precision, for timing. He can find the openings extremely, extremely well. Like the strikes, his fight against Jay Overmeer is just so incredibly impressive because he's able to find those tiny little minute openings and land a really powerful punch right through it. He's got a really good lead uppercut. He's got a really good right cross, and he's able to land those strikes as his opponent is throwing a kick and he's in the wrong position, and he's able to time it. So he almost falls over because he threw a kick at a wrong time. And that's the stuff that he evades. He's fast. He's great at being in and out. He floats extremely, extremely well. And I love to see that in a fighter. Now, if you're wondering, like, how do you beat a fighter like that? Because even very good fighters like Jay Overmeer and Alim Nabiov have struggled to get any success, even though they had success in that fight, to really have success that won them the fight in the eyes of the judges, or really, really put an exclamation mark on the fight. Well, let's look at what Chico Quasi did to defeat Endy Semeleer. Chico Quasi is massive for this weight class, first of all. He had a massive reach advantage and a massive height advantage going against Endy Semeleer, and he used it. So very, very long, evasive strikes. And he also adjusted the jab. So Endy uses a lot of head movement to evade strikes, to evade punches, and then return with counters. He loves mixing it up on the inside. And what Chico Quasi did, and it was a genius, really simple adjustment, but he started adjusting his jab so that it would land at the upper chest of Endy Semeleer. So even if he moves his head out of the way, the very large target, being his chest, isn't moving out of the way. So he landed that jab to the chest over and over again. And it's frustrating. And especially maybe, let's say Endy moves the wrong way and dodges down the wrong way, then he's landed a jab to the head. And that's a very good thing. Another impressive thing is that Chico Quasi just no-sold everything that Endy Semeleer did. And this is a lot easier said than done, because Chico is marching forward and Endy is countering a lot of his strikes, but they're not powerful. They're not strong enough to stop Chico from going forward. So he landed like a huge lead hook as Chico Quasi was approaching him, and Chico Quasi continues to march forward. His strikes weren't strong enough to really stop Chico Quasi, and Chico Quasi no-sold everything that landed on him. And that is a tall order to do if you're smaller than Endy Semeleer. And, do you think Tyjani Beztati is that guy? Where the person we're talking about who did it was Chico Quasi. I think Tyjani can probably follow the game plan of throwing the jab to the chest. That's a genius. And then work in strikes from there. And especially if you know your opponent likes to go first and third, as Chico Quasi did. Chico Quasi would throw one, and then Endy Semeleer, he knows, is going to return fire. And Endy instead would swing at air because Chico got out of the way. I think Tyjani can do that too. But in the actual exchanges themselves, Chico Quasi is able to take the punches and keep moving forward. I don't know if Tyjani is going to be able to do that because, he's going up in weight for the first time. And Endy is good size for the 170 weight class. Tyjani might be a little bit undersized, a little bit, we said just put on muscle. Maybe he didn't as much, It's a lot different of coming up 155, trying to put on muscle to make 170 than someone like Endy or Chico Quasi, who probably walks around 185, 190 and cuts down to 170. So anyway, the winner of this fight, I do think probably gets a title shot most likely. If you are a betting person, I would say don't bet on this fight. Like, Tyjani is going up in weight and we have not seen how he performs in that division or how he's going to look in that division. Endy Semeleer is coming off of a loss. But even in the fights that he wins, there's sometimes, without an exclamation mark, without like a great victory on the judges' scorecard. So what I'm saying is, like, the judges see his Endy Semeleer's fights oddly. You never really know what you're going to get out of them. Tyjani Beztati, we don't know enough about going up. And this is what makes it a great fight. It is a very, very good fight. But again, if you are a betting person, don't bet on this fight. Like, don't. They might be extremely passive for the entire 5 or 3 rounds or whatever it is. Nothing might happen in that amount of time. Who knows? Or it's going to be action-packed, or it's going to be a first-round knockout. I could really see it going either way, but I think because there's so many questions and things that we worry about and wonder about, there's a lot of question marks on this fight. So really, don't bet on this fight, man. What are you doing? Don't waste your money. If you want to donate to anything, donate the things that you buy the fight. I think that's great. Definitely buy the fight on pay-per-view. And that's really good. You don't have to bet on the fight. Actually, but not that fight. If you like sports gambling, that's cool. Great. Love it. Love you too. But let's talk about the co-main event, which would be for the featherweight title here. That's going to be Kento Haraguchi versus Petch. Petch is the long reigning champion at Glory's 145-pound division. They have met twice before. The first one was a pretty dominant win from Petch, and the second one was a really, really close fight and a controversial decision ending. And we're going to get to that in a little bit here. The thing is with Petch is that he is so clearly a step ahead of the fighters that he defeats, but doesn't often put a stamp on these fights. So he is clearly dominating someone like the first time he fought Kento Haraguchi or Sergey Adamchuk or, someone along these lines. He is so clearly ahead of these guys, but yet just doesn't knock them out, can't knock them out, whatever it is. Or he pisses off fans because he's so passive. Like, he's so clearly ahead in the fight and he's 5 steps ahead of his opponent and just doesn't really press that advantage all that much. He's okay with just being 1 point ahead. He's okay with just knowing, like, I've landed 5 strikes, you've landed 4, so you're losing. And that's going to be my round here. And he's okay with that. He's also, he's also can be frustrating for fans because he loves to land his outside body kick from range. And then if you try to get close to him, he will do clinch tactics. He will often trip. He will often dump. He will often put you in a tie clinch, all of which are illegal, but he can do it kind of like, catch and release kind of thing where it's fast enough that the ref isn't too bothered by it. Or you get a very passive ref who's a little bit more, liberal with the rules. And that's cool too. It's all part of the sport. It's all part of the excitement. So he just lost his Rise title. It was going to get confusing if you haven't been paying attention so far, but essentially Petch was the Glory champion. And then Petch went over to fight Kento Haraguchi and also picked up the Rise championship. So he's both the Glory and the Rise champion. And then he tried to defend his title against Chad Collins, the Shark. And he's from Australia. In Rise. So his Rise title was on the line against Chad Collins. And Chad Collins beat him. So now we're going to have Kento Haraguchi fighting Petch for the Glory title. Neither of them are the Rise champion anymore. So Chad Collins, the way that he was able to beat Petch, because most fighters can see these things happening and just don't have the skill to beat it. And that's really frustrating to see as well. And that sucks. Is that you can see what your opponent's doing to you and you just can't do anything about it. But Chad Collins was able to defeat Petch because Chad Collins is a world champion in Muay Thai specifically. So Petch is able to find those little tiny rules that blend between Muay Thai and kickboxing, which are basically illegal in kickboxing. And he's able to just kind of tread that line between this is legal and not legal. Well, Chad Collins, are you going to clinch a guy who's a world champion in Muay Thai? If you catch his kick, he's going to know exactly what the counter is. Rather than being passive and waiting for the referee, he stayed active and countered all of the Muay Thai things that Petch was trying to do. And because of that, it was a very close fight and it was a really exciting fight. It went the full 5 rounds. It was like 2 rounds each going into the 5th. That was a really fun little fight that they had. And just to keep things absolutely a total mess at 145, Chad Collins, the Rise champion, then went and got knocked out in the first round by Miguel Trinidade from Portugal, who's fought in 1. He's fought in Glory. Miguel Trinidade by no means is he's an extremely good fighter. I like him a lot, but he's certainly not a world beater. He was just coming off a loss to Berjan Proposhi, who, was coming off a loss to Denik Wosik and Jan Kaffa. And it's just such a mess that all these guys are at the top of 145, but the division's getting really exciting. And apparently they are going to be having a Grand Prix at 145 towards the end of the year. So I'm really looking forward to that. So anyway, let's talk about Kento Haraguchi here. So he had fought Petch twice. The first one he was employing, where do I start? Kento Haraguchi is a really interesting guy because he's a really great Kyokushin karate background fighter. And in a lot of his fights, he will use a Kyokushin karate stance, the wide legs, a little bit lower center of gravity, a little bit more flat-footed. And then other fights, he will use a completely different stance. And I think that's more related to his professional boxing experience, as he does have some experience in professional boxing, in addition to his kickboxing. So since the last time he lost to Petch, he got a win over Sergey Adamchuk, which was a really, really good win, and then he got 3 wins in a row, all by way of knockout. And those wins were really interesting because he varied his stance in those fights. Against Anvar Moynazarov, he was a little bit more karate stanced. and won that fight with a really impressive body kick. That was a really good one. Abraham Vidales, he beat him in the second round with a punch, and he was using a little bit more of a boxing stance. So he varies his stance a little bit. The first time he fought Petch, he fought in the karate stance. And the second time he fought Petch, he fought a little bit more in the boxing stance. And that worked much, much better. So in the first fight, he simply could not get anything going against Petch. Petch shut him down every step of the way. And you could see that he was getting more frustrated as the fight went on. In their second fight, it was much, much closer. And Kento Haraguchi had tons of success in that fight and was able to find really good areas of success. And then it was scored a draw. And then they went to an extension round, which I love in kickboxing, that you can just go to an extension round rather than just scoring it a draw, for example. Rye says it's cool for me to use their stuff. Glory says it's cool for me to use their stuff. Let's just watch the draw round. Let's just rewatch the draw round between Kento Haraguchi and Petch. This was the last round that they fought. At this point, they have fought like 9 rounds against one another, and this would be round 9 technically. And now I rewatched it a little bit earlier today, and I will tell you now, like, you know what, before I say anything, let's just watch it, and just in case you're watching it for the first time as well. I don't want to change the opinion of what's going on. Okay, starting at play. So this night already they had fought 5 rounds against one another. You can see Petch clinching right off the bat. He's warning him, don't clinch. He had got a yellow card at one point. There's the body kick we were talking about from the outside. Good punch to the inside and then clinched up from Petch. Kento Haraguchi gets to the center. Good work from Kento there. Kento staying in the pocket, scores a takedown. You know, not worth anything, but very cool. It's fun. Both gentlemen are back up to their feet. Gets warned for grabbing. Outside body kick, scoring really well there. And then Kento lands, counters the body kick with a punch over the top, and that was quite good. That knee is so good. Catches the kick, attacks, but then gets clinched up again. He landed a flying knee earlier in this fight as well. That was really, really good. Kento Haraguchi landed a couple punches there, and that was really good, countering off the kick, getting warned for grabbing again. Countering the kick with punches. Punches are landing, kicks are landing, clinches up with him, lands a couple of items to go in and clinch again. Blocked kick. Knee and punch lands there for Kento. Body kick and punch both land for both fighters. Kento Haraguchi is the aggressor while Petch is looking to land kicks to counter. The outside leg kick is just so powerful as well. But yeah, Kento's looking to land punches to counter that. They both clinch up. Great lead jab, just jumping in and it lands, and then they clinch up again, but eats a knee during that time. Body kick lands there. Couple of punches lightly land, but Petch counters with a knee in the clinch once again. You can see how frustrating it is to fight someone like him because he just grabs you and puts you in the clinch and lands stuff. Blocked kick, couple of punches land for Kento there, and then they clinch up once again. It's like stuff is starting to cook, and then he'll clinch up. And yeah, can be frustrating. You can see why sometimes fans are frustrated with him. Maybe the kick landed there. It's hard to tell. Kento Haraguchi, hands low, trying to find an opening, trying to feint to the inside, but gets clinched up as soon as he does. Exchanging some punches and kicks, and knee lands for Petch. See, and that's the thing of like, you saw the strikes that were landing for Petch. But ultimately, in the end, Petch did get the nod. So it was a draw fight. So that means the entire fight is going to be scored off of this round right here. And you just saw the entire round. And you can see a lot of it was, Kento Haraguchi was landing very great strikes, significant strikes to the head, while Petch was landing kicks to the body and knees to the body. And it's tough to say. We know that the judges do score it for Petch. And I think that they were just looking at the raw number, because if you look at significant strikes that made a difference, I almost think it was Kento Haraguchi. Now, Kento, as soon as this was read out, he complained. And he did say that he's going to open an inquiry into the judges. The next day, he changed his mind. But you can see, like, they are much more well-matched than they once were when they fought in 2020. And in all honesty, that line of where Petch was so far ahead of his opponent is getting smaller and smaller. Where, Akman Chikmusa did very, very well against him. David Mejia found lots of success against him. The first fight, he dominated Kento Haraguchi. The second fight, not so much. And you can even see a few of these moves are a little bit different. So in the first fight, Petch and Kento Haraguchi, Petch would angle out and then land strikes to evade the kick. And in the second fight, he wasn't doing that at all. And I think, in all honesty, I think Petch is starting to slow down. He's got like 200 some fights, but that line between dominating his fighters, that line between beating his opponents that line between dominating and just narrowly defeating his opponents, that line is getting smaller and smaller almost every time he fights. And, lost his last fight against Chad Collins. Kento Haraguchi had a draw against him and then arguably beat him in the draw round. Kento Haraguchi is coming off of 3 knockout wins, 4 wins in a row since his last loss to Petch. Really, in his career, his only major losses are to Petch. Petch is coming off of a loss to Chad Collins. I almost think, as we're seeing slight adjustments from Kento Haraguchi, you can see him thinking and getting better in between fights and having a little bit of momentum on the side. I think about that flying knee that he landed on Petch during their fight and him arguably winning in that 5th round. Anything could happen. And even like with what referee is in there, it's going to make a massive difference depending on if they're going to be calling clinches all the time. If Petch gets a point taken away due to clinching, just like he did in the first fight, if they punish him doing a hip toss or a dump or something, or a sweep or something like that, a lot of those are variables in how tough the ref is going to be. That's a massive variable in this fight. But let's just say it's a standard ref, as we saw in their other 2 fights. I actually think it's a pretty good fight for Kento Haraguchi. It's going to be a narrow fight. Absolutely, I understand that. It's going to be a tough fight for him. But I think over 5 rounds, he can actually get the nod here. I think he's going to find some space for flying knees. I think he's going to find some space for punches. I think he is getting better in between fights, whereas I think Petch might be slowing down just a little bit. Now, Petch is, I've hung out with him. I've had conversations with him multiple times in my life, on and off screen. Like he's a really cool guy. And I love what Adrian Fairtex is doing up there in Vancouver with their Muay Thai Academy. I think that's the best gym for Muay Thai in Canada by far. So he's a buddy of mine. So I'm willing to say, hey, Petch, I think you're slowing down just a little bit. Do you think so too? I don't know. 145 pounds is absolutely cooking. I'm really excited for both of the main fights on Glory 93. But if you are a betting person and looking for a kind of a safe underdog pick, then don't bet on any fights. But if you are looking for a wild, hot underdog who might be able to get it done, Kento Haraguchi might be your guy. You have Michael Boapea in the middleweight division going to be taking on Ulrich Bokiemi. Love that fight. Michael Boapea has just grown so much since making his debut in Glory. Really impressed with this guy. Had a really exciting fight against Serkan Özkaklian. Had a really great win against Serkan Özkaklian and then had a title fight loss against Donovan Vise, which I was really impressed with as well. Presented himself extremely, extremely well. Absolutely awesome. Young man who just is so clearly getting better every fight out. I think he wins against Ulrich Bokiemi quite safely. Tayfun Özkan, the Turkish striker, is going to be taking on Majid Amarushi. And I'm not overly familiar with Majid. I do know that Tayfun is extremely, extremely talented, though. So I'm going to pick Tayfun in that one. No questions asked. Miguel Trinidad versus Abraham Vidales. That is at 145 pounds, the featherweight division. I bet this one's fight of the night, no problem. This might be one of the most exciting fights of the year. We're talking about 2 guys at the top of 145 pounds. Winner almost certainly fights for a title. Both of these guys should be in the year-end Glory Rise Grand Prix. I'm just really excited for that one. But yeah, it's going to be a great fight. I'm really excited for that one. You also have Robin Kurek and Nikola Todorovic, and yeah, up and down the card, Glory 93 is looking really, really good. That is going to be at July 20th, this Saturday. Really, really great event. Really excited for that one. The two main events really make me excited. Really, just like, I don't know who's going to win those fights, but they're really exciting fights and they're going to answer a lot of questions. And then you have Miguel Trinidade and Abraham Vidales. Great fight. Love that fight right there. So let's now take a little break. And then when we come back, we'll do a little bit of news, some Rise stuff going on, talk about RWS Muay Thai and the massive upsets that they had this past week. Thanks so much, folks.
You're watching Calf Kick Sports Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Calf Kick Sports Podcast Network. Make sure to check out more interviews, highlights, and podcasts on the interview channels. Additionally, make sure to check out Calf Kick Sports on Instagram. Links for all of these will be down below. Now, back to the show. And I forgot to mention as well, for Glory 93, let me know what you think, where I was wrong in my breakdown, and who you have in those two top matches, because those two top matches are absolutely awesome. Okay, let's talk about some of the massive upsets that are going on in RWS Muay Thai. RWS Muay Thai Japan went down just this past week, and Naoki Yoshinari was able to defend his title against former stadium champion Jamhad. That was pretty typical. Naoki Yoshinari is a young, developing phenom. He's getting better and better in between each fight. He's still a young guy. I think he's like 21 or 22. Top pound for pound striker. And he's just kind of defending his title because, he's not going to challenge against other champions going up in weight class because he's still just getting used to the size that It would have been nice to see Naoki Yoshinari versus Kunseklek or Kumendoi or someone along those lines. They are slightly bigger than him, and that's what they don't really want to do. They would rather take these kind of fights like he is really supposed to beat Jamhad and some people like this. So he's an incredible talent with some pretty good wins, is the thing. So Naoki Yoshinari won the main event. But in the co-main event, you had Ryuki Matsuda take on Kunseklek. Now, I've talked about Kunseklek before. He was a stadium champion, and he's also a top pound-for-pound striker. He's a young guy. I think he's 18 or 19 years old or something like that. But he had, one loss in 47 fights. He was on a 40-fight unbeaten streak in the last little while here. And he was also top pound-for-pound for stadium-style Muay Thai, traditional-style Muay Thai. Even once you include entertainment-style Muay Thai, as you see in one championship, he would be, top 3 pound-for-pound striker in the world, top 2 pound-for-pound striker in the world, 40-fight win streak, title match, and then he's going to take on Ryuki Matsuda. Ryuki Matsuda was 2 years ago an amateur fighter in kickboxing with no Muay Thai experience. Eventually in 2021, he made his professional debut, and that was pretty good. And then he did have a draw fight against Issei Ishii in Muay Thai. Oh, that's quite good, actually. Issei Ishii is very good. So essentially, he's his second Muay Thai fight. He's winless in Muay Thai. He was an amateur just a few years ago. Again, a really young guy, 18 years old, and Ryuki comes out and knocks out Kunseklek, throwing it just like straight right cross, and knocks him out. This is a massive upset. This would be like if I made heavyweight right now, turned pro, knocked out Rico Verhoeven. This is about the same level. Top pound for pound, long dominant champion, gets knocked out by basically some guy who's barely a pro. But that's on paper. When you look at, he just turned pro a few years ago, 18 years old, has barely fought Muay Thai. When you really start digging into it, he's really quite an impressive fighter. And his first Muay Thai fight, he got a draw against Issei Ishii, who's one of the top Japanese Muay Thai strikers in that division, and that's very, very impressive. To get a draw in your first Muay Thai fight against someone like that is quite good, and then to get a knockout win against Kunseklek, he's obviously fully talented. In his first year of turning pro, he was able to pick up the Hoost Cup. Now, Hoost Cup has been something that hangs out at the back of my mind, because a lot of very good fighters, I will see that they obtained Hoost Cup. So I decided to dig a little bit deeper. And it seems like if you win the Hoost Cup, you are set up for success. You are one of the great hotshots that we all need to keep our eye on for the next few years, because the people who win Hoost Cup become incredible kickboxers. It is such an underrated promotion that I need to start watching it. So here's a list of people who had won titles or competed at a high level in Hoost Cup. Rukia Anpo, Masahiko Suzuki, Shiro Matsumoto, Koki and Kazuki Osaki, and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Like, that's super impressive. That is super duper cool. So Haraguchi, super impressive win, massive upset. I have seen some people online talking about Kunceklek wasn't really ready for the rules in entertainment Muay Thai. Well, he had won a bunch of fights in RWS already. This wasn't different in any way. He's won a ton of fights in RWS. He won a title in RWS. This was still fighting in RWS. Even if it's an adjustment of the rules, he's been fighting under these rules for years now. And I think the biggest defense is that this is really typical for kick sports. Like, people just lose sometimes. Ernesto Hus lost during tournaments that he won. Staying within Muay Thai, all-time greats will just have a few losses here and there, and then they move on from it and they come back. Both guys are young. We're talking about an 18-year-old and like a 21-year-old fighting each other. They're both going to keep getting better. They're both going to drop championships and win championships and do all these other cool things throughout their career. This isn't the be-all, end-all. Like, this isn't the end of Kunceklek. He probably comes back and beats him in the next little while here, or Haraguchi knocks him out again. But that's just the thing of kick sport, especially in Muay Thai. The very best fighters will always take losses along the way. And yeah, that's very typical. So I think unlike in MMA and boxing, where things are almost set in stone, once you win a title, you are a champion who's going to be there for quite a while, it feels like, or you're able to rise to the top level very consistently with progressive wins. With Muay Thai and kickboxing, you can take some losses along the way and still bounce back and still have a very good and promising career. So like Phuket Top Team on Twitter was saying, is that this is one of the biggest upsets in Muay Thai history. And it absolutely is. I don't want to diminish that in any way, but it's, these things happen sometimes. Fighters get knocked out in these fights. These are incredible, incredible strikers striking with tons of power. And you can look at any of the all-time greats and just see their losses along the way. They're dotted with losses here and there, and that's okay. That's just the way it is. Kunceklek probably comes back and wins the title. No doubt about that. He's an incredible fighter. And it was also a good event. I think every fight was Japan versus Thailand. Some of the bigger ones, like Superman lost to Ryota. That was a good one. That was a notable one, I mean. You had Saya Ito from Japan taking on Nong Pranafa. That is certainly having ramifications for female pound-for-pound rankings in Muay Thai. Oh, and you had Phai Hong. That's who I wanted to talk about. I was trying to figure out who I wanted to talk about. It was Phai Hong. So Phai Hong was a K1 champion, won the K1 championship, essentially came out of nowhere almost as an unknown, and won the K1 title and a Grand Prix when she was like 20 years old or something like that. Beat most of the people in the division, still was fighting actively in Muay Thai during that same time, and then would lose in very close, tight fights to Miyu Sugawara. And Miyu Sugawara is an amazing fighter as well. Phai Hong and Miyu Sugawara, both amazing fighters. They don't really combine into making great fights, I would argue. I'm not going to rewatch their fights against each other a ton of times, but they're both extremely good fighters. But Phai Hong was one of those people that I said that you need to keep your eye on. Female Fighter of the Year, no doubt about it, based on what she won and how she did it. Really, really impressive performances and beat all the top names in that division. Still competes actively in both Muay Thai and kickboxing. I think she won an amateur Muay Thai tournament just like last year or something like that. She's kind of all over the place. But anyway, she got a win on this card as well. So hopefully you can see her continue to be active in the future, whether it's in K1, Rise, or RWS, or wherever she chooses to compete. She is dangerous under all rule sets. I think her style is probably best suited for Muay Thai. And I think given the competition in Muay Thai at her weight class, Phai Hong almost certainly could be champion anywhere that she goes if they have a belt set up. But yeah, RWS Muay Thai was very good this weekend. I didn't catch the big show that they had. I didn't catch the show that RWS had with Michael Savas in Bangkok. Let me know if I should. Then, if it's good, I'll talk about it next week. Rise 180 will be next week as well. And there really isn't a ton to talk about on Rise 180. I'll talk about the main event because that's where I recognize names, but otherwise I don't recognize a ton. So in the main event, you're going to have Kyoki Miyazaki. She's going to be fighting Samson Sirapon. She has beaten like the best of the best between multiple organizations, sports, stuff like that, even different weight classes. So she beat the shootboxing champion Masaki. She beat the K1 champion Miyu Sugawara. She herself holds a Rise title, but she also beat fellow Rise champion Arina Kobayashi 3 times. She's beaten Saya Ito. And like I said, Saya Ito might be the top Japanese striker in Muay Thai right now. So she's beaten shootboxing, kickboxing. She's beaten Muay Thai champions. She's beaten K1, shootboxing, like tons of different styles and weight divisions there. Arina Kobayashi struggled against her so much that Arina actually went up in weight to avoid her. And that's fine. She went up in weight and knocked a bunch of people out. Like good for Arina Kobayashi. But yeah, the thing is with Kyoki Miyazaki is that she probably is top female pound for pound striker right now based on who she has defeated. Win against Miyu is a really impressive thing. Win against Arina Kobayashi, Misaki, these are amazing, amazing wins. It's just there's not a ton of people in that division for her to keep busy. They're really just trying to find someone in that weight class to keep her busy. So they signed probably a 1-fight agreement against Samson Siripon. And you're going to say, who is Samson Siripon? Well, she is a person with no kick fighting experience at all. She is a WBC and WBA boxing champion. So that's super cool. She is coming in from boxing. And this is boxing versus Muay Thai. She is coming in. Sorry, this is boxing versus kickboxing. She is coming in from boxing, a world champion in boxing. And that's very cool. She's also defended all of her titles between WBA and WBC, but she has no kick fighting experience. And she's 41 years old as well. So I don't think she's going to transition to kick fighting. So I don't think she's 41 years old as well. So I don't think she's going to transition to kick fighting anytime soon here. But the interesting thing with Samson Siripon is, the interesting thing about Samson Siripon, my God, the interesting thing about Samson Siripon is that she was part of that program that prisoners can fight their way out of prison by being active in combat sports. So she was arrested and imprisoned for dealing methamphetamines in Thailand. She, at the age of 24 years old, took up boxing in the gym to protect herself from other inmates, according to her. This story was from 2007, by the way. So she was 24 years old in 2007, took up boxing to protect herself, and then was able to fight her way out of prison by winning titles and beating other people in prison. So she was supposed to be in prison for 10 years, but instead only served 7 because of the success she had in boxing. And this is part of a rehabilitation program that they have in Thailand, where a lot of people will try to use Muay Thai to get out of prison because those programs are set up. She used professional boxing to get her way out of prison. And now, she went from boxing in prison to a world champion in boxing. And that's an incredible, incredible thing. Now, she's been out since 2007 and is a functioning member of society. And that's what that prison idea is all about, is that we rehabilitate these people to be in a better position in life so that they can be normal functioning members of society. So you've seen she's been out for almost 20 years. She's been out for 15 years. Hasn't had any reincarcerations or anything like that. So on paper, it looks a little bit, questionable that someone boxed their way out of prison or Muay Thai'd their way out of prison. But the program is clearly effective. It gets people into a different lane in their life. Rather than dealing methamphetamines, she boxes people. And that's a great thing to see. But yeah, it gives you a second chance and it gives you a leg up as well. But yeah, good for Samson Siripon, boxing her way out of prison, picking up world titles along the way. In 2007, in an interview with the BBC, she said, "I'm so happy with the way I performed today. I'm very proud. I've been in jail for a long time now. I hope this will see me released early." And it did. "And when I'm free, I will carry on fighting. I want to fight all over the world." And look at what she did. She got out, started fighting all over she's had fights in China, Thailand. Now she's fighting in Japan. She's fought in Germany. She really has fought all over the world. And I think that's a really great success story that you can see here. And it's really cool. I'm really happy for her. However, going against Kyoki Miyazaki in your first kickboxing fight, okay, you're going to get leg kicked to death. Kyoki Miyazaki was a national Kyokushin karate champion in Japan multiple times over before transitioning to kickboxing. She is absolutely dangerous with her kicks to all areas. And yeah, Samson's probably going to get knocked out in the first round. But I like her story a lot. And then on Rise 180, I'm not really familiar with a ton of these other people. Let me know what I need to tune in for. I'll try to catch the entire thing and let you know what the big fights are or the good fights are. But it seems like in between Rise's big shows, this is probably one of their smaller ones. Glory 94 has added a bunch of bouts. Glory 94 is going down August 31st in Belgium, and 4 more bouts have been added to it. The main event will, of course, see Bahram Rajabzadeh and Stefan Latuscu in the light heavyweight division. Just two sluggers. That's going to be a knockout right there. Recently just announced was Jay Overmeer is going to take on Ismail Ushkin. The highly skilled striker Jay Overmeer will take on the top-ranked Ismaili Ushkin in the welterweight division. Dutch-born Overmeer has been highly touted up-and-coming prospect, but had suffered losses in his bouts for division gold. Now he's looking to bounce back from his losses with a win over Oshki. Now, Ismail was a competitor on the House of Glory. He was able to get a top-ranked position due to his win over Robin Chirek. And both of these strikers are looking to break into the top 5 at welterweight with a win here. Really, a really great fight for the future of welterweight, which is such a good division. You also have Serkan Özkaglayan against Gente Namadine. Again, not super familiar with Namadine. Okay, so Serkan Özkaglayan, knockout striker in the middleweight division. He is a relative of Gokhan Saki, and he also trains alongside Badr Hari. He has tons of power in his hands if he's able to land it. I think he's coming off of a couple losses and really does need a win over Gente. Gente is a infusion veteran. James Condi will take on Yunis Smalley. So Yunis Smalley is just coming off of a one-night victory in 8 TKO. That was an infusion-sponsored tournament that was supposed to involve Andrew Tate, and then they got rid of him. Now, having won 3 bouts in one night, he will make his debut in Glory Kickboxing. This is going to be a catchweight bout against Francis James Condi. Condi has lost to shoeboxing Rise champion Kaito Ono, but has managed to bounce back, picking up a title in Senshi, and is now back in Glory. And then the light heavyweight division will see Sem Agun take on Mori Chroma. This is Sem Agun, the Black Ghost, Mori Chroma. He's on an unbeaten 12-fight win streak with his run between Infusion and Glory Kickboxing. The Turkish Sem Agun most recently is coming off of a knockout win against the PFL's Muhammad Amine. That is a really good fight, and I would say keep your eye on Mori Chroma in the light heavyweight division. I think he's got a lot of potential there. Glory 95 continues to fill out with better and really cool fights. This one is going to be Glory 95. This is hosted in Zagreb, Croatia on September 21st. This will be headlined by Levi Rigters and Antonio Plazibat. Antonio Plazibat, of course, known for, he was a K1 champion. He has been a title contender, just hasn't got the title shot in Glory a bunch of times. He's known for his inside fighting style, heavy punches. Levi Rigters is known as an outside kicker at heavyweight, really long, one of the taller people in the divisions, and uses his leg kicks to incredible effect. He made the finals of the Glory Heavyweight Grand Prix last time out, dropped Rico Verhoeven, but ended up losing. Antonio Plazibat got an injury in his fight against Cookie Tariq Osaro and was suffering from it, so couldn't get a title shot against Rico and couldn't compete in the Glory Grand Prix. He is coming back, motivated, pissed off in his home country with a win. They're going to bounce him right into a title shot against Rico. I don't think they're going to waste any time on that one. But yeah, that's a great fight in the heavyweight division. Also booked is Kevin Cookie Tariq Zara will take on Uku Uriandal. Uku Uriandal, known for his knockout wins against the Infusion heavyweight champion Martin Terpstra, and then also knocked out Badr Hari just after that. Competed in the heavyweight Grand Prix and struggled a little bit in it. But he is a heavy-handed Estonian slugger. Cookie Tariq Saro is a really good inside striker. One of the taller people in the divisions, extremely aggressive, forward fighting, loves to punch with people, loves to counter strike. So that will be a very, very good fight. I think Cookie Tariq Saro, after losing in the heavyweight Grand Prix to Bahram Rajabzadeh, and before that had a very boring fight against Rico Verhoeven, I think I'm hoping that he's looking to make an impact and really make a statement against Uku. But yeah, it's going to be a really good fight card there. Glory 95 and Glory 94, both of them coming up later this year. Really looking forward to that. Also, remember what we were talking about a few weeks back with K1 is having international tournaments where the winners will feed into their year-end tournament hosted in Tokyo. So heavyweight tournaments will be hosted all around the globe, and then the winners will be entered into their big year-end Grand Prix. So they had Eastern European round in Sarajevo here. This was won by Milos. This was won by Milos Shevchan. This was won by Milos from Serbia. And so he is going to be the Eastern European winner. The only other person that we have confirmed in the tournament is last year's winner, Lu Si from China. And then K1 was also trying to have events hosted in the US, which they couldn't quite get a US winner. They're also going to have a Western European final just July 27th next week, hosted in Italy. There's going to have a ton of different fighters from Western Europe. And then the winner, of course, will be entered in the year-end Grand Prix in Tokyo. But a little bit of the news with the South American qualifying bracket is right now we have 4 fighters confirmed. This is going to be Ariel Mercado, Gutte Innocente, and Anderson Braddock Silva. All 3 of them were top competitors in one championship, and all 3 have been title contenders while competing in Glory, so it's very good. We also have Jaime Marias, who I'm not entirely familiar with. This is booked for August 24th at the Nielsen Gymnasium from the capital in Brasilia. So we have 4 more fighters who could go into the South American Grand Prix. Right now we do have 4 Brazilians. So it's coming together really well. I could really quite enjoy this. This is a really fun little thing that they're doing. I love the idea of different continental tournaments, and then all the winners go to the year-end one. But yeah, the only person that we know is competing right now is Lucy. And then I think they have a card in Osaka that is going to be in October, and that's going to round out a couple more of the heavyweight qualifiers, at least 2 or 3 more, something like that. I forget the exact math. But yeah, they're still struggling in New York. I will try to reach out to the commission, actually. I got their contact info. Sorry, it's been busy. Kind of forgot to do that. But yeah, we got the contact info for the New York State Athletic Commission. We can see what we can talk about with K1. And, but yeah. Yeah, I love these Grand Prix going on. So this week we talked about some Rise. We talked about some Glory. We've talked about some K1. Really exciting stuff going on in the world of kick fighting. And yeah, it's going to be a really fun one. This weekend, Glory 93, definitely tune in and watch it. That's going to be a great event right there. But folks, my name is Tim Wheaton with Kick Weekly. And you know what? We got to make 60 minutes here. So let me see what else is going on here. So I got, remember I was talking about struggling to find work. I think I found a couple of things. I'm not making as much money as I was. Definitely not even close. But I have enough income to kind of get by in my life. And that's good. And I'm happy about that. And it's also inconsistent as well. So every month is going to be a really different number. But I did some sponsorship stuff, did some stuff with a company, and I hope to do more with them in the future. But they paid me okay, and I bought a Steam Deck. I'm really excited for that. The Steam Deck looks really cool. It has you can tell it's kind of designed by people my age, like older people, because it has a headphone jack. You know, like it's just so simple. It's so good. And it has Bluetooth, of course. Really excited for that. Because one thing, I did get a new computer to play video games, but I just don't play them as much. But if I can sit on the couch, you know, with the people and my family, and I can just sit there and finish Baldur's Gate. I need to finish Baldur's Gate. I want to play the Doom expansion. I still haven't beat Hades. I think I only played through Hades like 3 or 4 times, but you have to beat it 7 to really get the final. And then I want to play Hades too. So all these things stack up, and I haven't played the Elden Ring expansion either. I love Elden Ring. I love Doom. I haven't played the expansion, so I kind of miss that. But I think, yeah, that's what I'm going to be focusing on in the next few weeks here. Now, I know people are going to come at me and say, make sure to play this game. Make sure to check out this game. Let me play what I'm playing. Let me finish these. Let me finish Doom expansion, Elden Ring expansion, Baldur's Gate. Let me finish, what was the other one? I said Hades. And then I will ask you if you want to, you know, some recommendations on video games, folks. But yes, thank you so much for your time, folks. Much, much appreciated. My name's Tim Wheaton with Kick Weekly, and we will talk to you about the same time next week. Thank you so much.
You're watching Calf Kick Sports Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Calf Kick Sports Podcast Network. Make sure to check out more interviews, highlights, and podcasts on the interview channels. Additionally, make sure to check out Calf Kick Sports on Instagram. Links for all of these will be down below. Now, back to the show.